Hey TGIC listeners, Izzy here, currently editing. Just wanted to let you know that we're aware of some of the audio quality issues in this episode, and they were due to this recording taking place over a three-way video call. So, sorry about that, but we're hoping to figure out better ways of recording in the future. Anyways, on to this very special collab episode. The following contains descriptions of physical violence, sexual violence, and graphic descriptions of autopsies.
Hey listeners, welcome to episode 81 of TGIC podcast. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Izzy.
And I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Emily.
I don't know if you guys noticed, we had a couple extra voices today. We're really excited to have some guests today. This is, you guys are a trial by podcast. And we're really excited to have them on. We haven't had a guest in a minute. I think the last guest that we had was my brother, and he's not a true crime podcaster. He's a 17-year-old boy. So this is pretty exciting for us. If you guys want to talk for a second about your podcast, share with our listeners.
Yeah, so we're Kelsey and Emily. We are from A Trial by Podcast. I always stress the A because there's another court lawyer one that is Trial by Podcast. We are more true crime and less intelligence than that one. So A Trial by Podcast. And we started about 6 months ago. We do weekly episodes. We were doing a new case every single episode. But the more we've gotten into it, the more I just can't shut up. And a lot of these cases are turning into multi-parters, but we do weekly episodes, and at least, most of them are just one part, but every once in a while we throw a couple part series at you for fun. Emily?
So yeah.
No, I'm
Emily's
happy to be here.
I was like, I didn't even give her a shot.
I was just going to say, this is our first collab, so I'm excited.
This is our very first
We're
collab.
having a great time.
Yes, we're having so much fun. We just recorded the episode for our feed. Now, if anyone goes and listens to our feed, just be ready. I tell the stories and Emily brings the vibes.
We're so excited to be doing this. This is our first true crime collab. We've had like I said, we had my brother on a random episode last summer, but he was just kind of a guest there for occasional input. And a couple years ago, we did a couple episodes with some other teen podcasts, but they were both all lifestyle type podcasts. So we were really just on there to kind of talk about our show. But this is our first time talking with another true crime podcast, which has been so much fun.
Yeah, it's been so much fun.
When I saw you guys, I found you on Spotify, and when I saw the name, I was like, Teen Girls Investigate Crime, because I was obsessed with CSI from second grade. My favorite computer game was CSI Miami. I was always I didn't get into true crime until I was in high school, but I always loved CSI and Criminal Minds and all of that stuff.
You can't forget NCIS.
No, I didn't mess with NCIS.
I loved NCIS.
Of course you did. Of course you did. No, but I saw you guys and I was like, how? Because me and Emily, we are so old. Okay. I just turned 29 a couple days ago. And
I'm going to be 30. Unfortunately, I'm going to be 30 this year.
Emily's going to be 30 this year.
Just
and
scary.
I saw you guys and I was like, I wish I had done something like this when I was your age. That, I think it's so cool. So we're so happy to be here with you guys.
Thank you so much for coming on our show. This has been so fun.
Yeah.
But like they mentioned earlier, we recorded another episode for their show. So there's going to be another episode just like this on their feed. So make sure to go check them out. A Trial by Podcast.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think we're just going to get started. Izzy's going to start off by sharing a story. Oh, I did forget something. So we are doing a sort of Valentine's Day themed episode. Today is February 13th. So we are kind of doing a theme of love triangles, but obviously love triangles can't end well in true crime podcasts. So we're doing sort of love triangles gone wrong. So yeah, Izzy, if you want to get started with your story.
Okay. So when I was looking for what to cover for this episode, I will say I had a hard time choosing because there are just so many out there.
I cannot believe how many there were.
There were
I
so
thought
many.
this was
I was
I thought
shocked.
this was going to be so hard to find, and apparently this is a really common problem.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to Antony and Cleopatra. Like it's
Yeah.
thousands of years old. We've just been fighting over boys and girls.
I feel like I'm an uncultured
Yeah.
swine because who is Antony?
We'll talk about it later.
Okay, so the case that I ended up landing on was the Pamela Smart case. And I feel like it was a big one. Like, I remember hearing about it even before I decided to cover it. So, yeah, Pamela Smart, specifically the murder of Gregory Smart. So,
I
Pamela
was
Smart
so
was born.
excited. I'm so sorry.
I knew totally fine.
I just wanted to say, you picked the best case. When you emailed me this, I was like, this
Let's
is going to
fucking
be a
go.
good one. I'm so excited. Okay, I'm going to shut up now.
No, I was excited too. So, like, please interject while I'm telling the
Okay,
story because it
okay.
was insane while I was gathering the information for this. So, Pamela Smart was born in Coral Gables, Florida on August 16th of 1967. And she lived in Miami until she was in 8th grade when her family moved to Derry, New Hampshire. So, Pamela attended Florida State University, and she met Gregory Smart when she returned to New Hampshire for winter break in 1986. They began dating in February of 1987, and they were married just 2 years later. And only about 7 months into their relationship, the couple began having issues. And around the same time, Pamela actually took a job as the media coordinator at Winnicott High School in Hampton, New Hampshire. And also, I just want to mention, like, she's really young. She's only around, like, 21 when she takes this position and 22 around the time of this case, which is, like, insane. The fact that we're almost 20. I don't know why. It seems like this
Yeah,
would
and
be
she's
such
like
a...
getting married and settling down.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm, like, in the library, in the study room. It's full glass wall, and a whole group of my friends just walked by.
Just
Anyways,
open the door
that's
and
what I was
grab
doing.
a seat.
No, do you want to sit down on this episode? Anyways, yeah. So in her position as media coordinator, she was a volunteer for one of the school's programs called "quote unquote" Project Self-Esteem, which was meant to target drug awareness in schools.
That doesn't seem like it matches, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, no, I
it
have
really
seen that.
doesn't. Yeah. So while volunteering for this like little program, she met then 15-year-old Billy Flynn. And this started kind of like a volatile relationship between 22-year-old Pamela and Billy. So at first, Cecilia Pierce, who is another student at the school who was also 15 at the time, was friends with Pamela. And when I say friends, I mean like they did stuff out of school, and they did like activities that like you and a friend would do, except it's a 22-year-old like media coordinator and a 15-year-old student.
Aren't there
Yes.
rules about that stuff?
Yeah.
Just it likes to. It sounds like she likes to keep her circle young.
Yeah.
That makes you wonder, like, she must have maturity issues. Like, she
Yeah.
must not be all right up there.
Yeah. And so Cecilia Pierce was friends with Pamela, and she was friends with Billy. And at first, like, she said that like the relationship between them was just friendly. However, in February of 1990, Pamela confessed to Cecilia that she loved Bill. And then Cecilia was like, okay, there's definitely something going on between them that is not just friends at this time. And also at this time, the relationship between Billy and Pamela became sexual. And in interviews and in court documents, it's actually revealed that Pamela ended up taking Billy's virginity.
Damn, Pamela.
And yeah. Oh my God.
That's a bad
And-
damn. That's a bad damn. Not
Yeah,
That's how it sounded. Not in a hyper up kind of way. Like,
oh my
damn,
God.
Pamela,
Yeah.
you really did that? Shit.
yeah. And she was telling Cecilia, another 15-year-old, about this.
That's what's
Where are
crazy.
your Pamela? Where are your friends that are maybe around your age?
That's the question.
That's her. Like, I
Oh
think
my
they are her
God.
only friends.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my
Mm.
God. And it's like the
Like-
one type of person you should not trust with hot, juicy gossip like this is a 15-year-old. Like that is
Yeah.
the prime
Exactly.
time of not keeping this secret.
Yeah. So basically, Billy and Pamela were in this relationship, and it was just kept going on, and like Pamela was not like there was no end in sight, essentially. So May 1st of 1990, Billy Flynn and his friend actually ambushed Greg Smart when he arrived home from work at Pamela and his house in Derry, New Hampshire. So like Billy and I think there was actually a few friends, but they mainly just mentioned this one friend specifically. They literally showed up to Pamela's house and fully ambushed her husband, Greg.
Oh my God.
So-
Damn. What a shitty day to come home from work. Like,
yeah, no, literally. And so they force Greg into his house and they make him get on his knees and then they shoot him in the back of the head with a .38 caliber pistol that actually had belonged to one of Billy's friend's fathers.
oh my God.
And
Does he have any idea who Billy is? Like, does he
No.
recognize these kids? Oh, that's horrific.
Oh my God. He's never met them. And like, yeah, so I cannot fathom like coming home being forced on your knees by two 15-year-old boys. Yeah. And actually one of the main reasons that they discovered like the connection to Billy and his friends was that so I said that the gun belonged to one of Billy's friend's fathers, but he actually ended up turning in the weapon into police after suspecting that it was a murder weapon.
Wait, the
Like,
dad or the
dad?
friend?
The dad.
Oh.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. So
How did
which
he-
is honestly good
So
parenting.
he heard that Gregory was shot and then he turned it in? Or was he like, oh, I think somebody shot my gun and I didn't do it, so.
So I think it was a mix of a few things. So basically, I'll get into it in a second, but there was something that led to him being like, I think that like, I fear that my son was involved in this somehow and my gun is misplaced.
Okay.
Oh, God.
So, yeah. So after killing Greg, the teenagers then staged the scene to look like a break-in or like burglary gone wrong. And Pamela then returned home from a meeting to discover her husband like brutally murdered and her home completely like ransacked. So in May 14th, about 13 days later, an anonymous tip was sent to police, which indicated that Cecilia Pierce was aware of the plan. So apparently she called police and she was like, hey, I knew this was going to happen. Like I heard about it before it happened because I'm friends with Pamela Smart and with Billy.
Oh, so Pamela knew?
Yes.
Ooh.
So this led to
I need
police
to watch
asking.
No.
What are you doing?
Yeah, but I mean, like, think about being 15, and especially like, I'm sure that to her, like, Pamela was like someone that she looked up to in a weird way because she's like a 22-year-old. Like, I don't know, she's giving her attention. I know when I was 15, if I had like an older friend, like, I would trust them. So I'm sure that if Pamela was like, hey, this is gonna happen, or like she caught wind of the plan somehow, she was like, I'm not gonna tell anybody this. So basically this tip was sent to police and obviously things were being aired on the news about the murder and just about the fact that like Pam was involved. And this was when the father of one of the friends like turned in the gun. Like right after this anonymous tip was sent in. Yeah. So then the police asked Cecilia to wear a wire when talking to Pamela in hopes that they would catch her saying something like incriminating or something that would like give any ideas about why this happened. And
Hell
it
yeah.
actually did.
I
Yeah.
love a wire.
Yeah.
I love a wire.
Yeah. So she wore the wire and she went and talked to Pam and she just opened her mouth and started talking about it.
Oh,
So is the moment that's like honestly kind of iconic. So August 1st of 1990, Detective Daniel Pelletier, I think is how you say it, approached Pamela in her school's parking lot. And like obviously Pamela recognized him since they had talked following her husband's murder like at least 6 times. So he approached her as she was about to get in her car, and she said nonchalantly, she was like, "What's up?" And the detective responded, "Well, Pam, I have some good news and I have some bad news." The good news is, right? And he said, "The good news is that we solved the murder of your husband. The bad news is you're under arrest." So this guy needs a Grammy for that.
Flair for the dramatic, and I like that.
He is an icon. And these are direct quote.
He said, "I got good news and I've got bad news. Good news, we solved the murder. Bad news, we know
It was you.
Yeah. Yeah.
chef's kiss."
And she said,
What a
Chef's kiss.
guy.
right? And she goes, "What for?" And he said, "1st-degree murder."
Oh my God.
So
Mike,
cold.
Right away.
Yeah.
Do you think this guy
Yeah.
was like practicing it in the mirrors
He had
that
to.
morning? He was like looking at himself really
Dude, on the
seriously.
drive there, he's like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
can't wait to drop this fucking line on this bitch."
I can already picture like one of his eyebrows is like raised the whole time, like looking at her like
His
"Good
facial
news,
expression.
bad
No,
news."
literally. Yeah, like he's pulling the cops out of his pocket. He's so ready. And like I can just imagine her like standing there in front of her car, like, "What for?
Yeah, like,
What are you arresting me for? What are you doing? Fancy.
what are you doing?
It's like, well, do the math, Pamela. What would someone be arresting you for? Even if she was innocent and didn't do it, it's like,
Yeah,
you would obviously
Yeah.
assume that it's for the murder, you know?
Like
Like,
dummy.
oh,
exactly. Yeah. So after her arrest, she's held in county jail, obviously. And March 4th of 1991, the oral arguments in the trial began. And it was argued by the Assistant Attorney General, Diane Nicolosi, that the naive children were basically being manipulated by Pamela to kill her husband. So the prosecution portrayed Pamela as the mastermind who coerced an underage boy to have sexual relations with her in order to convince him to murder her husband. They furthered this by saying that the whole murder plot was orchestrated to avoid Pamela paying for an expensive divorce and so that she could get the life insurance policy of Greg, which was $140K. So, yeah. But honestly, still, like, I've heard of more expensive life insurance policies. Like, why is she murdering her husband just to not get divorced with him?
yeah.
I was gonna say that sounds like 140K for a murder of your husband.
You
I
guys
mean,
that are still in college, so like the harsh realities of life haven't fully hit you yet. 140K, it's not
Like
going to
40
get you
bucks.
that far. Like it might maybe like a couple years if you're like being really frugal, but like I mean back then I'm sure it was worth more money, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's insane
It's
to
still-
take a life for that.
Even
Yeah.
if she's trying to like just avoid divorce, it's not like she can remarry Billy, can she? He's 15. Like, wouldn't his like
Yeah.
parents have to consent? I don't even know what the age of consent is in New Hampshire. It might be like older. Like,
You definitely have to wait a couple years.
yeah, like I don't
Yeah.
think she could just get married. So what's it matter if she has to like get divorced? Yeah, I have no idea. I don't even think her intention was ever to marry Billy. Like, I don't think that she intended for the relationship to go that far.
Oh, so you think Billy was just
yeah.
a pawn?
A pawn.
Like she just wanted out of this marriage. She just wanted him dead, but she needed somebody to do it.
Yeah,
And
because
she's
then
a raging
Pamela-
15-year-old boy
Oh my God.
hyped up on testosterone is the perfect thing to
Yeah.
do.
God.
Oh,
geez.
no, exactly.
Yikes.
So Pamela claimed in court that while she does acknowledge that she started this sexual relationship with Billy Flynn, that she had no inclination of the murder, and that simply Billy killed Greg as a result of Pamela threatening to end their relationship in a resort to like repair her marriage, quote unquote. That's what she's claiming. And that's what she said in court, and she like stuck by that. So after a 14-day trial on March 22nd, 1991, Pamela was found guilty to the charge of accomplice to first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and witness tampering. She was sentenced to life in prison.
Sorry, she didn't get any like predatory charges. Like,
No.
were his parents aware of
That's
this
crazy.
happening?
Yeah, no, that's the one thing that I was really shocked by when I was looking at the case and like the different charges. No mention of it.
They didn't think to be like, well, you're a little bit older, like maybe a lot bit older than him.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And this ruling was based predominantly on the statements of the teenage co-conspirators and like the taped recordings from Cecilia. Yeah. And actually, recently she did admit that he was like the conspirator to the murder. It was actually a big thing. I think that's one of the reasons that I found this case is that like she's been in prison for like she's like 54 now or something, and she finally was like, yeah, like I just wanted to kill my husband. Why would she wait so long? I haven't like at that point just don't. I literally
Just stick to him.
Yeah, like why are you? I don't know.
She was a weak bitch.
Yeah. She was like, this will cleanse my conscience. This will fix my karma.
Maybe the rest of my 50 years that I have here will be better if I come clean.
Yeah. So in 1992, Billy Flynn was sentenced to life in prison for second-degree murder, and he was not eligible for parole for 40 years, with 12 years of the minimum sentence deferred if he maintains good behavior. So actually, Billy Flynn was granted parole on March 12th of 2015, and he was then released from prison with lifetime parole on June 4th, 2015. So
Wow.
he's out of prison.
That's scary.
Yeah, which is a little bit scary. And also, like
your husband's.
Yeah. No, literally.
I don't know. I wonder if he would have done this on, Pamela said, she tried to get him to do it. Is he just a dangerous person? And she asked him, or was he only dangerous in this situation?
Yeah, like was he just easily influenced?
Yeah.
I mean, he was 15, but also like he murdered someone in cold blood and then like proceeded to like stage the scene.
Yeah, that's where it's crazy. Like it's very planned out beforehand and after, which is
Did the friend that helped him do this get anything?
Yes, he was also in prison. I think he got a similar sentence to Billy, but he's still in prison.
Wow.
So
must not have had good behavior.
That it's sad because part of me thinks, maybe she just did this to them, and like they would have lived. If they never met, maybe they would have just been normal kids. Because like 15 is young. I think you could
so
be
young.
Yeah,
very influenced, especially like he lost his virginity to her. That's hard to say.
I mean, yeah, he's probably like, this woman is the love of my life. I mean,
yeah,
I feel like every 15-year-old boy's dream is to be like, yeah, my girlfriend's 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I saw that, when you emailed us saying that you were going to do this one, I recognized the name, but I couldn't remember what the case was. And so I Googled it. And once I saw it, I was like, this is such
fire.
A good one. This is set. I mean, obviously it's horrific and sad. It's not a good story, but you know what I mean? Like it's
an interesting case.
And it's interesting to think, would that have played out the same way if it happened today? I'm sure we would have seen some charges against Pamela for like the sexual assault of the boy or something. I don't know. It's just weird.
I wonder if they didn't charge her for that because they already had her on murder, which was going to get the highest charge anyway.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it might have been like the statutory laws. Like some of the statutory laws are messed up. Like they're like, once they're 13, they can consent or,
interesting.
Depending on the state. So interesting.
Yeah. So are you guys ready for your next story?
I'm
I
excited.
am ready. I am ready. So this one, I'm going to tell you the story of the murder of Keith Green. And this is actually a pretty current story. So we're going to start off in February of 2022. And we are traveling to the town of Banbury, Oxfordshire in England. Someone's going to yell at me for saying that wrong, I'm sure, but that's my best, as an American that I could do. So Banbury, Oxfordshire became the backdrop for a harrowing tale of love, betrayal, and murder. The story of Keith Green, who was a 40-year-old carpenter, and his life was tragically cut short due to this deadly love triangle that involved his partner, who was 38-year-old Louise Grieve. Grieve. I'm not 100% sure about that. This is a news story, so there's not a ton of media coverage, but I'm going to stick with Grieve. It ends with an E.
Sounds good to me.
I don't know. Do you guys yelled at about your pronunciations?
We just pronounce things wrong all the time, and people pretty much just
yeah.
know that's what's going to happen.
Okay. We're still waiting for our lovely listeners to accept that fact, but we always tell people, we're like, we love when you correct us as long as you do it nicely. Most of the time people are nice, but every once in a while we get like, you dummies, but that's okay. So Keith and Louise shared a home on Howard Road in Banbury, and they lived there with their children. Now, to friends and neighbors, they appeared to be a pretty typical family, but like we hear all the time in these stories, beneath the surface, their relationship was fraught with turmoil. They were on again, off again, and this dynamic was just marked by frequent breakups, and then they'd get back together, break up, get back together. And so it really was just an environment full of conflict in their home at all times. Now, in 2021, Louise began having an affair with a man named Mark Meadows. Do you guys want to guess how Louise met Mark?
Tinder.
Emily? Tinder? That's a good guess.
Farmers only.
Oh,
Good guess.
people really use that.
You're looking for a farmer.
We haven't met anybody. Maybe we should, Emily, try it out.
I know. I should go on it.
We'll report back on that one.
Maybe they'll have a horse.
So those are good guesses. But Louise didn't need an app to find this man because she met him in person on her very own front doorstep, because Mark Meadows was her Amazon delivery driver.
What? That could be a book right there.
A modern love story.
That is a modern love story. And
I've never
honestly,
heard one.
I've never met or seen my Amazon delivery driver, but he is the most reliable man in my life. I will tell you that.
If I actually think about it really hard, I try really hard not to meet my Amazon delivery driver because he's there a lot of the time.
And you're like a little bit embarrassed.
Yeah. And
Me
I
too.
can see him walking up to my doorstep, and I will hide behind the door until he leaves so I
Yeah.
could go get my
No,
package
I used
and run
to-
back inside.
Yeah, I used to do the same thing at home. I would see them coming and I'd be like, I need to leave. I need to.
Nobody's home.
Fuck them.
But hey, guys, now you know. Maybe you should look out. Maybe he's
Meeting him.
And apparently, Louise found Mark, the Amazon delivery driver, very cute. And this is interesting because
You got a girlfriend?
she must have had a type, because he had very distinctive long hair and a very distinctive long beard. And the combination earned him a really fun nickname, which was Jesus.
Everybody called him Jesus.
So the Amazon delivery driver, just really knocked Louise off her feet. Like, as soon as they met, and it was just like intense and passionate. And it was like, like this torrid secret love affair, like really exciting.
Yeah.
Do you know if she's religious? Like, does she just have a Jesus fetish, or?
I do not know, but if she didn't, she might have one after this. I don't know. I don't know.
She does that.
Now, Louise really reveled in the attention from her lover, who was much younger than Louise, by the way. I don't know exactly how many years, but he was younger than her. So she's like getting all this attention from a younger hottie named Jesus who drops off all of her packages. I
You
mean,
bring gifts and you have long hair?
exactly.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's the dream. Now, despite her ongoing relationship with Keith, she continued to see Mark on the side. And she started like the two men started to like have this rivalry over her. I don't believe that Keith knew that she was actually like carrying on an affair with Mark, but he noticed the attention that she was giving to him and that he was giving back to her. However, obviously Mark's delivering their packages, so he knows that like
He's there
this is
often.
like her spouse,
Yeah.
that Keith is that, you know, that she's in a relationship. He knows that he's the other
delivered
man.
his packages before too.
Now, their connection kind of began as like just casual exchanges, you know, like playful banter when he would drop off a package. And then they'd start, you know, chatting on the doorstep for a couple minutes here and there. And just like a total flirtation.
Rom-com.
Yeah. This is, well, obviously this ends really sadly. But maybe if you change the ending, it could be a good rom-com.
Yeah.
Now, Louise was drawn to Mark's youthful energy and his carefree demeanor, and she just liked him because he seemed very different to Keith, who was like, he was older, he was more established and just more stable overall. And Mark was just, you know, being younger than Louise, he's just like, I love this older woman, kind of like what you were saying about how Billy probably felt about Pamela. Like, she's just confident, she's older, you know, it's just exciting and something different. Like you've attained the unattainable type of thing. Now, the affair reportedly officially started when Louise invited Mark in for a drink one afternoon under the pretext of she wanted to thank him for his reliable service.
That's insane. That's wild. I mean,
now
coming in.
One thing led to another, and Mark delivered the most reliable package of all to Louise that day. Now, from there, their meetings became more frequent and deliberate, and they would have little rendezvous in secluded spots and just kind of like stolen glances as he's like dropping off packages.
I wonder if anything happened in his Amazon delivery truck.
Oh, 100%.
That is
that.
I cleared a shelf for you, babe. Time.
That is a crazy thought. And they just, the two of them were really just like, they were losing themselves in the thrill of this secrecy. And they started to become careless over it. And Mark, like for Louise, that's what was exciting. It was the secrecy. It was all of that. But for Mark, he was getting over it. He wanted to be with Louise. Like, he saw their connection as something bigger. So you can see how this is becoming like a really toxic situation. They're becoming careless. They're not hiding it as well as they first were. She's kind of like, she just loves the like funness of it, but he wants something more out of it. And he starts to become really jealous of Keith. And as their affair progressed, Mark's jealousy and resentment just like intensified. And he started confiding in his half-brother, who was 20-year-old Travis Gordon. And he basically tells Travis that he's like, I got to get Keith out of Louise's life. And in a series of chilling text messages, and this is where, by the way, like, we're laughing because it's crazy that this woman is having an affair with her delivery driver. But it's like, I'm going to bring you all of us back down to reality because this turns horrific. And while it's funny that she's like, I mean, that is crazy that you're just sleeping with Amazon. Like, it's the it's the stuff that you see like in movies or like,
no,
like, would you order pizza? But at the same time, it's like, this is where the story, I guess I'm just warning you ahead of time, this is where the story turns like really dark. So Mark is texting Travis and he says, quote, "There's a war coming end quote. To which Travis responded, "I'm down." Now, really what this all comes down to is Mark was determined to be the only man in Luis's life by Valentine's Day, okay? Because this is all in the beginning of 2022. And on the evening of February 13th, 2022, so if you're listening to this on the day that this episode is released, literally 3 years ago to the date, Mark, Travis, and Luis met at the Pepper Pot Pub, a local establishment near Luis's home. Now, CCTV footage later revealed like they were just drinking, laughing, they're playing bingo, just having a grand old time. But underneath all this little like fun that they're having on camera, they were really like putting together a very sinister plan. And after leaving the pub, Mark and Travis made their way to Luis's residence. Luis returned home first, so normal thing. She was out, she's come home, and then in a calculated move, she starts asking where like Keith was. Like she's kind of yelling around the house, like, "Keith, what's up? Where are you? What are you doing?" Now, meanwhile, Mark and Travis access the property through a side gate, disabling the CCTV system to avoid detection. So Luis is in on all of this. She's like, "Yeah, we've got cameras. We got to turn those off. I'm going to see what's up. I'm going to see where Keith is." And the two men, so Mark and Travis, they were like sitting outside waiting in the yard. And they were armed with a blue, quote unquote, zombie knife, which I don't know if that's a brand or what. But it's always referred to as a zombie knife with a capital Z. So I'm assuming it's a brand. And Mark had previously purchased this for Luis, but now he's got it back in hand and he is waiting for his moment. Now, Keith eventually steps outside, and as soon as he does, he is ambushed and brutally attacked, sustaining 8 stab wounds, one of which pierced his heart. And despite his pleas for mercy, the assault was relentless. They were going to ensure that Keith was dead. So they made sure he's incapacitated. And then at that point, they knew he was going to bleed out. And so Mark and Travis fled the scene. Now, emergency services were summoned, but tragically, Keith was pronounced dead upon their arrival. Now, the investigation quickly led to the arrest of Mark and Travis, who were found with blood-stained clothing and in possession of the murder weapons. Like, they just found, like, as soon as...
Here's your evidence.
They're like, this guy was just murdered in his yard. We've got to go find the people who did this. And the police just end up finding them. Like, I don't know if they were just walking around or in their cars, but they're literally just covered in blood and have, like, bloody knives on them.
So they've never listened to a true crime podcast before.
No. It blows my mind. And thank God they don't, because it makes it just easier for the police.
We say this all the time. I love a dumb criminal, you know?
Yeah, literally. Because
I feel like
dumbest.
Yeah. Literally caught red-handed. Like the joke writes itself. I love, that's good though. The dumber criminals are,
the better.
The less they hurt people and the easier they're caught. So I'm glad to hear it. But it makes me laugh, like, that these people, like, you didn't have a getaway plan, bro?
They said, let's flee the scene only 20 feet away so the cops can see us.
Now, Louise, of course, is like trying to play dumb at first. She's like, "Oh my God, what happened to my husband?" But she was later arrested for her involvement in the conspiracy, as evidence revealed that she was the one who facilitated the attack. So very similar, again, to Pamela. We keep like matching up themes, guys.
Yeah.
I know we decided on love triangles beforehand, but now both episodes we're seeing like secondary themes. Wild.
Yeah.
Now, during the trial at Oxford Crown Court, the prosecution presented compelling evidence, which included text messages and CCTV footage. And really, altogether, this just illustrated the premeditated nature of the attack. This was definitely something that the three of them had planned ahead together. Now, Mark and Travis were found guilty of murder and possession of a bladed article, which is just a funny way to put it.
A
I'm
bladed article?
because this is in
Like a
English.
knife?
I'm picturing the British accent. Hit me. Can you do the British accent?
Hello.
A bladed article.
Oh, a bladed article.
That was
No.
that was a 5 out of 10. I thought that was pretty good. It was better than I expected
Thank you.
and better than I could ever do. Do either of you guys do a good British accent?
Izzy does a
Any
fantastic British accent.
Oh, hell yeah.
He does do many accents.
Bladed article. Let's hear it.
Belated article.
Oh my god.
Okay, Hermione.
in the room with a professional right now.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Wait.
watched a lot of Harry Potter.
Oh my god, I
Very
love
first
Harry
show.
Potter.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Wait.
me
What
too.
other accents are you good at?
Yeah, I need to hear your arsenal.
I have so many. I fear I can't even pull them out. Like they just come out of me. Like I asked Jillian, like there were so many times where we're just having a conversation, I'll just whip one out. And they're always so random and they're never the same. And it's like I can't even get into it.
See,
They're organic.
I
You're
feel like
the
I
same
already
as
know
Emily,
you.
but
Like, I need to
Emily's
be proud.
no. But she does the same thing. She just randomly whips it out, and you're like, okay. Emily often hits me with the Australian no, which I
Nar.
Nar.
Yeah.
See, I can't do it
Yeah.
no matter how hard I try.
Nar.
I'm horrible with accents.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she is sorry, guys. I get
Back to
ADHD.
it.
She is, I'm sorry, Mark and Travis are found guilty of murder and possession of a bladed article. I'm not even going to try the British accent. And Louise was convicted of manslaughter for her role in enabling the crime, which I never understand this. Like why sometimes the people who hire the hitman or like order the crime get a lesser charge. You know, sometimes you'll see the killers
Yeah.
get first degree and then this person gets second degree.
Yeah, like you're the boss, they were the employee, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this person wouldn't be dead without you. Like
Mhm.
you could have found other
Yeah.
people to do it, but anyway. But that's why Jillian's going to become an attorney and she's going to be able to answer those questions for us.
I'll figure it out.
So this is where, okay, we had a good laugh about how crazy this was. Then it got really dark and sad, as all true crime stories do. And now it's just going to get weird, okay? Because in a shocking turn of events at the trial, Mark turned to Louise from the dock of the Oxford Crown Court, got down on one knee, and proposed to her.
Oh my god.
In the trial?
While they were on trial for murder.
What a gesture.
Oh my god. Now that is off of the freaking Jerry Springer show right there. That makes sense.
Full circle.
Wow.
Which is also like, again, it's one of those things, and I always do this because it's like, yes, that is so crazy, and like, what a fucking psychopath. Not by the definition, but like psychopath in the hyperbolic sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I just think about Keith's family and like what a fucking slap in the face.
Mhm.
Like your son, brother, you know, and I think he had kids too. And he's murdered by these people. And then while they're on trial for what they did to him, he's going to sit there and propose to Keith's spouse. Like, it's just...
What did Louise do? Because I feel like if that... Not that I would ever make somebody kill somebody.
I think she was like,
But-
yeah.
What?
I mean,
Fuck up right
yeah.
now. This is not the time or place.
I think that she, like... I mean, they couldn't touch or anything. Like, they're like...
Yeah.
They air hug.
separated. But they're like... I'm pretty sure they get engaged. Okay?
What? That is...
Oh my
bonkers.
god.
Dude, if I was the judge, I'd be like, get your ass up right now. That is not valid.
Yeah. That's
Like-
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just obviously a slap in the face of the family. And this is what the court saw it as too. Like they saw this as an obvious like sign that they completely lacked any remorse for what they had done
Yeah.
to Keith. And it just shows you like how twisted this relationship that they had was. Now, in January of 2023, the sentencing took place, and Mark received a life sentence with a minimum term of 23 years. Travis was also sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 17 years. Louise was only sentenced to 8 years in prison for manslaughter.
Hmm.
I never understand
That's crazy.
heard so many cases where people get like 5 or 10 years or something for I don't understand this at all.
Yeah,
Like,
I
this
don't
woman is
understand.
obviously an evil woman. She's getting engaged at the trial. Like, it's just disgusting. And I feel so bad for his family. And even I think Mark and Travis, like, they got these minimum terms of 23 and 17 years. Not long enough for murdering somebody in
For murdering
cold
someone
blood.
in cold blood, like so passionately, like stabbing someone multiple times with knives is insane to me.
And zero remorse. He said, "Oh, I don't give a fuck about that. I'm gonna propose."
Yeah, and it's like, have fun being married while you guys are in 2 separate prisons. Like, that's crazy. Now, the judge like made this whole speech condemning their actions, and he really wanted to emphasize the fact that this was a devastating impact on Keith's family and on the community, because this like shocked this community. This is like a small, quiet area. And I guess that's kind of how I want to leave it off on, is just a reminder. Story's crazy. It is funny that a woman would just randomly start sleeping with her Amazon delivery driver. I think that's fair to admit that, like, that's funny and have a good laugh about it, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I always like to bring it back around and just like remember it. You know, someone lost their life over this.
Yeah.
Over it's so horrific, because what if she had a different driver or he had a different route? Like, and this never would have happened.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm leaving us off on a very Debbie Downer note.
No, but it's so important. I feel like as true crime podcasters, especially like in this day and age, like we were talking about in your episode where we were just talking about like how important it is to like, you're covering these intense cases that are impacting people, like real life people. Like, people are actually dying or getting hurt. And like, it's often like a very serious topic, but so many times they're miscovered or like things are sensationalized. And I think it's important to bring it back to that serious point and be like, these are real people.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And I'm sure you guys have felt this way too. Like, sometimes it's so hard because it's human nature to hear that she's sleeping with the Amazon delivery guy and you just laugh. You're like, that is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. And so and I'm sure I'm not perfect at it, and I'm sure I won't be perfect at it ever, but I always try to like find a balance. And I think this is the hardest part of true crime podcasting, is finding the balance between, you know, recognizing the seriousness of the situation and like the horrific things that the victim's family has been through and the fact that a life was lost, while also being a real person and recognizing the fact that her sleeping with the Amazon guy that's nicknamed Jesus is funny.
It's very funny, yeah.
And
It is funny.
That's why I always like to discuss it, is to be like, this part is funny and it ends, and then we get to this part where it's no longer funny. And I don't know. I think for me, that makes me feel like it's okay to have those moments where you're like, that's hilarious. That piece of the story is hilarious, but the story in general is not hilarious. And I don't know. I know some people probably disagree with that, but I don't know. That's where I'm at.
No, I definitely
feel like that's
agree.
life.
Yeah. And I think that's how we carry our show too. So I'm definitely glad that we were able to collaborate on that. I feel like we definitely have very similar styles.
I thought so too when I listened to you guys. I was like, I love that you guys started doing this so young. I loved the episodes that I listened to, and I was so glad that we got to do this. So
Yeah, you guys are killing it.
Yeah.
killing it.
Thank you. I just
I guess
wanted to
that's not
ask
a
you
good
guys, like,
way to say it.
true.
She said killing it's not a good way to say it.
We're true crime podcast.
You're kicking
It's
ass.
significant. Yeah, we're slaying. Also, not
There
a
it
good
is.
way, but yeah. One thing I want to ask you guys before we say goodbye, like, what made you guys want to start a podcast, like, in the first place? I know you guys are relatively new. Like, was there something that led to you starting that journey?
I just like I've always been I was telling you guys like I loved CSI and then I got into true crime, whatever. And I got like super deep into podcasts when I was like working away from home. So I didn't know anybody where I lived. And so I just listened to podcasts all the time. And then I saw this is so dumb. I don't know if I've ever even told Emily this story, but I saw like a post on Instagram that's about this Japanese philosophy called Ikigai. And it's like, what should you do? Like, this is how to figure out like what career path you should take. It's like, what do you love? What can you do that helps people? What can you make money at doing? And what comes easy to you? And I'm like, okay, I love true crime. It's really easy for me to not shut the fuck up and just blab on and on and on. And like, I think true crime can help people. And what was the last one? Oh, and you can make, money doing true crime. And I just, I'm known amongst my friends as like, I tell too many details and I make stories way too long, which is like, I feel like
100%.
what true crime girls love. So then I just went to Emily and I was like, please do a true crime podcast.
I know you're like, how do you feel about starting a true crime podcast? And I said, that sounds fun as fuck. So let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the one that got me into true crime.
Yes.
You introduced me. I don't know. You guys have heard of Morbid, right?
We love
Yes.
Oh my God.
Morbid. They're what got me into true crime. I think I started with, you started me on Crime Junkie, and then I moved to Morbid, and they're my favorite podcast now.
Yeah. The exact same with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Morbid, Ash and Elena are like
Queen.
my heroes.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah. I just love them and I love their dynamic because they're just so, they remind me of like, you know how like Wicked is, all their branding is like green and pink and whatever. And they're like so different, but they just mesh so well.
Yeah.
I think that's Ash and Elena. Like, I feel like Elena's green and Ash is pink.
Yeah. I definitely agree. And honestly, like speaking with you guys and then also thinking about like me and Jillian's experience, I feel like now so many like duo true crime podcasts with like two girls is kind of the same thing. Like I feel like we all kind of give that energy where it's like one person's more factual and more like this is the case, this is what's happening. The other person is like doing British accents in the background.
Yeah, they're for the vibes.
Wait, so which one of you guys is, because I usually tell the stories, Emily's here for the vibes.
Yeah.
Which one of you guys is like more factual and which one of you guys is like the vibes?
Okay, it kind of depends on the day.
I like that.
That's fair.
I think like that is like it will shine through on certain episodes. Like sometimes I will be very more like factual, stick to the case. It really depends on who was more like invested in the research of the case. Like we split up the research a lot, but sometimes there's a case where I'm just like super into it, and so then I'm the one who's like, can we please talk about the case? And Izzy does an accent, or then sometimes it's like Izzy's really into the case, and then I'm like, wait, that part was funny. Can we go back to that?
Yeah,
So,
love
and
it.
like
it kind of switches up.
Yeah, and I will say that like we have very different interests when it comes to true crime that we get super sucked into. Like I'm a big supernatural and like really crazy theory and conspiracy theory person.
That's Emily.
So yeah, like those are my favorite cases. Like Elisa Lam. I don't know if you've heard. I'm sure you've heard of that case.
Yes.
Yeah, like that was one case where I did research for like nonstop for it. And the episode is like an hour and a half long. Like we have different like vibes when it comes to like what cases we choose too. So yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely, whenever we have a case where it's like unsolved and there's like, we're going through the theories, Emily's always on the like, it's aliens.
It's the aliens. They got abducted.
And I'm just like, no, I think it's the simplest explanation.
Science, actually.
You know what this made me think of is, have you guys seen BuzzFeed Unsolved?
Also love BuzzFeed Unsolved. That's also one of our like biggest idols. Yeah.
Yes, dude, I loved BuzzFeed Unsolved, and I miss BuzzFeed Unsolved. I love those guys, but yeah, she's Ryan, and I'm Shane.
Literally, that's us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Emily, have you seen BuzzFeed Unsolved?
No, I need to though.
Oh,
It's so good. You have
Go
to
on
watch it.
YouTube.
Oh, I gotta
Go on YouTube. You're gonna binge it. It's
Okay.
they're
Yeah.
fantastic. They're hilarious. I love those guys. Anyway, thank you guys so much for doing this with us. This was so much
Yes,
fun.
thank you so
It
much.
was
This has been
so much fun. Yeah.
But
Oh,
make
I
sure
just
to go-
realized it's Galentine's Day. The day we're releasing this, because Galentine's Day is on February 13th.
Oh, happy
Oh, that's
Galentine's
Happy
Day, Lily.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
I guess we're all Galentines.
Yeah. Yeah.
But listeners, make sure to go check out the other episode on A Trial by Podcast. It's basically the same as this, but 2 different stories. And yeah, if you guys want to plug your socials or anything.
Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at A Trial by Podcast. That's kind of where we post most of our stuff, but we are also on Facebook as well. I feel like your listeners probably don't even have Facebook, but we're on TikTok because we're cool. We're cool with the young kids still.
But yeah, make sure to go check them out and follow us on Instagram at tgic.podcast and TikTok, if it's still around, at tgic.podcast. And check us out in another month for the episode. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.